ekam aksharam hrudi nirantaram bhasate swayam manasa svam chinvata majjata pavana chalanarudha atmanishto teham mrunmayavat jadatmakam aham buddhirnatasya yato naham tattata bhavashukti samaye siddhatma sadbhavah oham bhavayuta kuto varadhiya drishtatmanishtatmana soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam. Namo Ramana. We have been meditating on the verses of Anma bodham. We have been meditating on the Tamil translation of Atma bodha. The Sanskrit original is by Adi Shankara and the Tamil translation is by Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi. We have summarized up to verse 46 in the last 2-3 satsangs. In the last one, we had summarized verses 41 to 46, which described almost picturesquely the erasing of ajnana and the shining of jnana. Ignorance vanquished, self-knowledge shines by itself was the theme. How the difference between the knower, knowing, known is vanquished, and how the sadhana is done with this purana as the plank of wood that lies, and the vichara is the stick that is used to generate the spark, that is to be done santatam, and the sparks generated in the presence of this purana, they become arunodaya, which vanquishes even before the sunrise is felt. The arunodaya vanquishes the darkness. Similarly, before the atmajnana arises itself, first is the sparks of sadhana, they burn all the wood of ajnana. Once the arunodaya is done and dusted, the suryodaya or the jnanodaya comes through. ignorance vanquished, the Atma shines by itself. Then one realizes that the knowledge which destroyed the ignorance was indeed like the Kantabharanam, was ever present. And the feeling that I have slipped into ignorance and done some sadhana and come is also erased. That is why it says nobody can trace the path a fish swims by or a bird flies. Similarly, nobody can see the path of the jnani, because in jnanam there is only jnanam. No division between the subject and the object. For the subject to traverse through various paths in the objective field. Then we have the 245 and 46 about the Jiva Bhava being a spurious entity and how the I and mine are completely erased in jnana. That is the establishment of one in jnana. 47 to 53, we have the Jivan Mukta. How the Jivan Mukti Sthiti, how the individuality merges into the Brahman is taken up. So the individual, the jnani, how he merges into the Brahman is the subject. 54 to 64 is about the Brahman itself. So that probably we'll take up in the next session. Today we'll try and cover 47 to 53 where the jnani merges into the Brahman. We shall see that there is an interesting scheme of things here also, that the original scheme, that the best is told in the beginning itself, is not left here also. Like the 47th verse, Nandru Tanayari Vijnaniyam Yogiyum. Nandru Tanayari. One who knows oneself thoroughly. Nandru Tanayari Vijnaniyam Yogiyum. ஒன்றும் எல்லாம் தன்னில் உருவதை, ஒன்றான தான் எல்லாமாய் உள்ளதை தன் ஞானக் கண்ணினால் தான் காண்பன் என்றே தரி. Here the ultimate is said directly, that the jnani is someone who knows oneself thoroughly. Nandru Tanayari Vijnani. So the Vijnani has identified with the Spurana, with the I. One should understand that here, Nandru Tanayari Vijnani, the subject-object difference is vanquished. We not only have subject-object, but we also have a spectrum of differences in between. All that is vanquished in the Tannai Ariyum Jnanam. In Tannai Ariyum Jnanam, that is also called as Andamila Kan. It is the true eyes, it is the true waking, it is true happiness, it is true knowledge, it is true existence, where the jnani does not know anything other than oneself. The self knows itself. That is why it is called as I. The I cannot see the non-I. The I sees only the honey in everything. It is a famous analogy that goes in spirituality. One sees the great teachers say that one should be like the honeybee and not like the fly. Being that honeybee gathers the best part of the flowers without disturbing them, and the fly does whatever it does. That one has to see God in everyone. To see God in everyone, Bhagavan has made it clear that unless you see the immanent self, God within yourself, you won't have the eyes to see God in everyone. If you are associated with the Sukshma Kan or the Sthula Kan, obviously one won't be equipped to see God. That is why the Jnana Chakshu is required. Jnanameva Chakshu. The தன்னை நன்கு அறியும் விஞ்ஞானியாம் யோகியும். That one is the best yogi. The jnani is the best karma yogi. The jnani is the best bhakta. The jnani is the best yogi. Because there is no outside for him. The yoga of outside and inside is complete. There is no velividayam. வெளிவிடயம் விட்டு விளங்கும் அருணேச வழியடக்க நிற்கும் மனத்தால் உளமதனில் உன்னை தியானிக்கும் yogi. So in the yoga marga, Arunachala is defined as someone who doesn't have anything outside. So that is the yoga marga, that the prana which is going outside is turned inward and kept, and with that the mind going outside is turned inward and kept. And the light oli karnam, that oli is referred to as the undivided space of the seer and the seen, where the seer and seen are merged. So Nangu Tanayari Vijnaniyam Yogim. Now the yoga is complete. The subject alone is, the IA alone is. Ondrum elam tanil uruvadai. Then what has happened? The whole multiplicity has been unified. Here we can just see what is meditation and what is self-enquiry. In meditation, what we do, because this Atma bodha, it comes through meditation, Bhagavan comes through self-enquiry. We can, for a brief moment, we can look at what they are teaching in meditation. The multiplicity of objects is all reduced to one thought energy. A single thought energy, which we call by our Ishta Devata's name, or by mantra, or by Omkara itself. So the whole of objective space is covered by that radiance. Then the sadhaka also is absorbed by that, and self-knowledge reveals itself to itself. So the objective space is unified in meditation by holding Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Everything is consumed by that mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. To such a one, the Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya only will be running effortlessly. That is called as Ajapasthiti. In Ajapasthiti, the Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya is the Sarvakarta. The knowing Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya is the omniscience. And that is the point where the being separation is also dropped, and Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya asks you, who are you who is meditating on me? Enquire, who am I? That is why the last question in the meditation marga also will be, who am I, says Bhagavan. So the whole objective space is unified with one energy, and the sadhaka also jumps into that and merges and discovers the self. In self-enquiry, from the beginning itself, the attention is withdrawn from the objective space and put back on the subject itself, till subject absorbs all the objects. Shanair shaner uparamed buddhya dhriti grihitayat atmasamstam manakritva na kinchidapi chintayat. What is done? Gradually, from each object you see, you understand that in objective observation, both the kshetra and the kshetrajna are limited. First of all, we should have the kshetra and kshetrajna jnana, viveka. Then isolate the kshetrajna and take him to the truth, or take her to the truth, or take it to the truth. So that way, tannai unar vijnaniyam, yogiyam. What exactly happens there? All the objects are unified in Rama. All the objects are unified in Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. And in self-enquiry, all the worlds are permeated by the one I. Who am I? That one I is Ondrum. It unifies the whole objective space. Ondrum elam tannil uruvade. So all these objects which I was thinking are outside of me are now inside me. When who am I culminates in self-attention as I, all the objects are permeated by me. All the objects are permeated by me, therefore they are all inside me. ஒன்றான தான் எல்லாமாய் உள்ளதையும். Now that you are the self, you are everything. Sarvamum tanai nandrai saatrumittotirathin shravanam tannalartham sintanam dhyanam ganam purivadal. Like that goes the 11th verse of Dakshinamurti Stotram. That Sarvamum tanai nandrai. That all this Sarvam has only one definition. You cannot objectively define Sarvam because then the subject will be apart. The definition of Sarvam is self-attention. Sarvamum tanai nandrai. So not only is all the objects present in me, I am myself, everything. Ondrana tan ellamai ulladum. Now there is nothing other than me for me to search. There is only the I. All the objects have been kabalikara, have been consumed by me. And only I am there. Only I am there as everything. Tan ஞானக்கண்ணினால் தான் காண்பன். By the I. How is this seen? It is seen by the I. The I consumes all objects. The I knows that it is everything. And the I sees itself as everything. Tan ஞானக்கண்ணினால் தான் காண்பன் என்றே தரி. Case closed. First verse itself, everything has been told. How the Jivan Mukti, Videha Mukti, all these stories are combined into one and finished. That there is only the Atma Jnana, there is no difference between Jivan Mukti, Videha Mukti and all, because the entire objective space, entire subjective space has been consumed by the I. The I alone is there. Now let us see how the Acharya unfolds the other verse. 48. Anmave iv ulagellam. See how the ulagam is introduced. There, Tannai sarvam ariyum jnani said. Now, the objective space, the kshetram is introduced. That let us assume that the jnani is in one of those other areas like Brahmavid, Brahmavidvara, Brahmavidvaranya, Brahmavidvarishta. Then I am still seeing the world. That feeling is there. Then Anmave iv ulagellam ahum. அற்பமும் ஆன்மாவுக்கு அந்நியமாய் இல்லை. யான்மாவாய் காண்பன எல்லாமும் கடாதி மண்ணின் வேறாய் காண்பதும் உண்டோ கழறு. Now there is a provision that now the Jivan Mukta is in that kind of Jivan Mukti where he sees the world. Now the self-explanation there is that I am only permeating the world. I am seeing the world. But what is permeating the world? The self-attention is only permeating the world. So, ஆன்மாவே இவ்வுலகெல்லாம் ஆகும். அற்பமும் ஆன்மாவுக்கு அந்நியமாய் இல்லை. ஆன்மாவாய் காண்பன எல்லாமும் கடாதி மண்ணின் வேறாய். Can they be apart from self-attention? No. Can all these objects be apart from self-attention? Self-attention is always there because whatever object you see, you know self-attention is underlying it, because if you ask for whom is this, you will get. Who remembers that one went to sleep? The thought of deep sleep is also for me. So self-attention permeates deep sleep also, permeates the not knowing of deep sleep. Self-attention is there in deep sleep also. Deep sleep is crossed by self-attention. Objective blank space is crossed by self-attention, which is self-luminous. But here in the second verse, a little bit provision is given for the Jivan Mukti explanation, that ஆன்மாவே இவ்வுலகெல்லாம் ஆகும், அற்பமும் ஆன்மாவுக்கு அந்நியமில்லை, ஆன்மாவாய் காண்பனவெல்லாமும் கடாதிகள் மண்ணின் வேறாய் காண்பதும் உண்டோ கழர். Can the pots be apart from the clay of which they are made? Therefore, all this is made up of only this Purana. Such an explanation is given. In the first one, there is no scope required by the one who is practicing this work. He has reached such a place that he understands self-attention is enough. So for him, no explanation about the world is given. Ellamum, sarvamum, tanai. But here, a little bit scope is given that if you are seeing the world, still that is permeated only by the self-attention. They are all mud pots, including your own body, all the forms, names, they are all only mud pots made of this spurana, made of this I, which is akanda. So that is the analogy given. In 49, a little bit more. Jivan Muktan Vidwan. Teruvan Tan Mun Tannai Mevum Upadi Gunam Vittudane. Mevuvan Tannuru Satchittinbai Tan Kidam Vandinuru Tannai Urudal Poladari. Jivan Muktan Vidwan. Teruvan Tanmun Tannai Mevum Upadi Gunam Vittudane. So now from the objective space all seen as one, I divide the objective space as subtle, gross, and in the gross many things. There the Acharya says the problem is not there. The problem, you are not able to aggregate the whole world into one. As I told in the previous verse, doesn't matter. The differences in the world are not there. It is actually inside you. There was a video or an article sent to me in my old friends group where the dualities were being discussed, like laziness kills alertness. Like that he had put some dualities. Now read from right to left, he had written a whole set of dualities were given. And he says now read from right to left, meaning alertness kills laziness. Now is it clearly like that laziness is bad and the alertness is good? Can we divide like that in the objective world? To the intellect it is not like that. See, we need a reasonable laziness is called good rest, which is required, and an over alertness is called compulsive behavior, which becomes a problem to the intellect. That means there is no clear division as good and bad. There is a whole spectrum of good and bad for the intellect. Therefore, that is the upadhi of the intellect. Like in early days, we used to have cinema stories where clearly villain will be villain, the hero will be hero. Whereas now we have the hero also having some villainish qualities and the villain also having some heroish qualities, which is appreciated more by the modern intellect than a clearly saying this fellow is good or this fellow is bad. That means the whole objective space is now a spectrum, and the whole problem has become spectrum problem, not not clearly good or bad. If you take the senses and the intellect, then we have the whole artistic spectrum coming up there, that some of the senses are picked by those children and they are highly intellectual in other areas, whereas some parts of the intellect are forgotten and some parts of the senses are held. This whole problem as matter and spirit is not merely matter and spirit anymore because we are intellectual. It becomes a whole spectrum. But then Bhagavan says, don't worry about that spectrum complication, about the in-between states, which throws up so many shades of gray. Now, which one to pick, which one not to pick? He says, don't worry. It is all because of your upadhi guna. It is because your intellect has all these shades. The intellect has many grades of good and many shades of bad, which it superimposes there. And it enjoys seeing a story being coined with varying shades of characters and not clearly as good and bad alone. But Bhagavan and Acharya save us by saying the problem is not out there, the problem is in your upadhi. Therefore, free yourself of upadhi, that whole spectrum is gone. There is no autistic child who is not protected by the spurana. The spurana permeates that whole spectrum. And it is only that the spurana which is the dropping of all the upadhis. So all one has to do is Not worry about the spectrum of problems there, but the identification with your own upadhis. So in the third verse, if you can't drop the whole of the seen world, you understand that the seen world multiplicities is arising out of your upadhi identification, and free Jivan Muktan Vidwan Teruvan Tanmun Tannai Mevum Upadhi Gunam Vittudane Mevuvan Tannuru Sitit Satchit Inbam. One realizes that one drops the upadhis. The intellectual thoughts come, the mental thoughts come, the thoughts about the senses come. We ask, for whom is this? The word Upadesha means bringing the truth closer, Bhagavan says. Upadesham means we feel our emancipation is somewhere away. When are we going to be relieved of this trouble? When will God come and His grace descend on us? Bhagavan says, no descending business. It is already there. It is Kantabaranam. Grace is already there. How to experience the grace? Drop your upadhis. This adhyasa is there. That which is not is seen as that which is. Like we don't even realize that we are identifying. When we go out into the world, all our transactions are, I am this body. Whereas when a small nail you cut extra and a little bit of the skin is also pinched, you realize my finger is paining. So this viveka, you lose it when you lose yourself in the world. Whereas when you look at that small pain, you understand that it is my finger which is paining. So my is different from mine and I is different from mine. So that viveka is there. Then you can hold the chit swarupa. You can hold that I which permeates rather than get absorbed in the object, that which is called as adhyasa. This is called as adhyasa. That which is not the body, that which actually is the self, which is limitless, is superimposed on this, and all our activities we do with this adhyasa, and we say the problem is out there, and Bhagavan says problem is only in the chit jada granthi, in the not between the consciousness and the name and form. So the upadhi, of all the upadhis, the mula upadhi is the ego. The mula upadhi is the I thought, which is the granthi between the consciousness, which is ever free, and the body, which is ever inert. The mixing together, we say, I am the body. Now, if I speak without self-attention, then that is called as adhyasa. I consider myself to be the speaker, and somehow this knowledge has to be communicated through this medium. And this is not a knowledge that can be subject to this kind of communication, because this area itself arises out of adhyasa, out of the upadhi, taking this body to be I, taking this breath to be I, taking this mind to be I, taking the intellect to be I, taking the ego to be I. So all these upadhi gunam, vittudane, when the guru comes and gives you the who am I, he has come in the subtle, he has come in the sukshma swarupa and has injected you with the who am I. It is the Brahmara Kita Nyaya, they say, that in those days they would observe that a beetle would come with a larvae in its mouth, put the larvae somewhere into its cage, and it would appear to them that it is injecting something into the larvae and going. And in a few days, that larvae itself will become like a beetle. So they would say that is Brahmara Kita Nyaya, how the Guru indoctrinates or brings that through the Diksha, through the Mauna Diksha, he has taught us who am I. And by the constantly meditating on that Guru given form of who am I, we become like the Guru, we become like the beetle, is the Nyaya, that we identify with the pure Satchit or the existence consciousness. Later on, the science has discovered that the Brahmarakita doesn't happen like that, that the larvae is come and the actually it is the food for the eggs of the beetle. The beetle comes and lays eggs on it. So when the lays egg is hatched, those beetle children or whatever you call it, they eat on the larvae and then they fly out. But then we can still take the essence of the story, isn't it? That we can easily see that when we have Bhagavan's Kripa coming over as the constant presence of who am I before us, like you have a satsanga, you have something like you are in touch with some group of people who are, let's say, interested in that. All that is constantly reminding us of who am I, and we also practice. So that is the Guru constantly injecting us with that jnana from the outside, so called, and we also become like that Spurana. That is the Brahmarakita Nyaya or Brahmarakita essence. That is the thing used here. That when you start leaving the Upadhis, freeing the Upadhis with the practice of who am I, one turns Jivan Mukta just like the Guru. In the 50th verse, one more level lesser. Like if you can't understand the whole of the Upadhi Gunas, take the mind and emotions. That freeing yourself of the emotional things, emotional quotient alone, that itself will free you from the whole area. And here Adhyatma Ramayana is said to be condensed by the Acharya. That Mohakadal Kadand Moolasai Kobam Mudal Ahum Arakargal Kundru. So what is the Upadhi referred to here? The Upadhi is the Manas, which is emotions. They are called as Arakargal. What are the Arakargal? Mohakadal, the Moham is the desire, which creates the Arakargal as Kobam, the Loba, Mada, Matsarya, jealousy, hatred, anger. All these are the Arakargal, the Rakshasas. கொன்று யோகி அமைதியோடு கூடி ஆன்மாவில் இன்பத்தை அமைந்து ஒளிர்வன் என்றே அறி. He cancels out. Now all the upadhis you are not able to understand. Doesn't matter. You cross the Mohakadal. And when you cross the Mohakadal, automatically that crossing itself will take you beyond the other upadhis. How to cross the Mohakadal? That we are trapped in the Mohakadal. You should know. What is this Mohakadal? Mohakadal is the whole area of superimposing good and bad on where good and bad is not there. Where is good and bad? There in matter. Where is good in birth and where is bad in death? We superimpose that. We celebrate birth. We celebrate good health in the body. And we are worried the moment some sickness comes, and we are totally worried about death. But where is clear good or clear bad in that? In one of the instances, in another great one, the Sishya goes and asks him that you have to bring back my son who passed away untimely in his 15th year. And he says, it is all prarabdha, that it has to happen like that, you allow him to go. But she says, you have done all this, you changed the prarabdha of so many people. I want you to change his prarabdha and bring him back. Then he gives the Brahmastram. He says, how do you know that he is better off with you rather than where he has gone? This is the false feeling you are having. So it is selfishness that is making you ask him. You don't know to which place he has gone, but you are assuming him being with you is good for him. If you are wishing good for him, you should say, I do not know where you have taken him, Bhagavan. You must have taken him with your intelligence only for his betterment. That will free you of this. That is the way to take death. Totally different way of approaching death, is it not? That we don't know what it is and superimpose the God's intelligence on it. That God, can he have an unintelligent way of dealing with things? So his intelligence we may not know, but definitely we can believe it to be the ultimate good, because he is having the ability to give us moksha also. Therefore, his plan must be definitely much better than any human plan. So death takes a different shape then. Then we don't fight it, we see the selfishness part of it, that we are not really crying for the other, we are crying for ourselves, our own loss. So this Mohakadal, the good and the bad, is not as clear as distinct. Even birth and death are not really supposed to be totally good or totally bad. And when you cross that Moharnavam, any duality you take, and and you cross, you will come to the self. So Bhagavan has taken, Acharya has taken here our emotions with which we are tied to the world, the good and the bad, the like and the dislike. These are the two hands with which consciousness grasps everything. It likes something, it grabs with the right. When it dislikes something, it pushes away with the left. And very act of pushing away, it gets attached. So the consciousness seems to have, the relative consciousness seems to have these two hands with which it grasps and grasps by pushing away. That Moharanavam is where the Sita is trapped, the Sita of peace. And we are the Rama who is beyond this Moharanavam, unable to get to the peace. We have to cross that ocean. It is an ocean of like and dislike. How to cross that? With enquiry. For whenever you feel you get a thought, you have got that thought because you like it or you dislike it. Either one of these two things should be there. So likes and dislikes can be crossed by self-enquiry, because as Dilipji would say, that whether it is a good thought or a bad thought, you have to drop it. Now, where is the labeling of good thought and bad thought? Because we like some thoughts, we abhor some thoughts. Therefore, we have this categorization as good thoughts and bad thoughts. So, moha is cut by self-enquiry, and we are able to get and meet the peaceful part of ourselves. In Adhyatma Ramayana, the getting back to Sita, and Anjaneya is said to be the guru here, the one who brings the information that there is this kind of Atma Swarupa inside the Lanka, and that is the 50th verse. Then the 51st and 52nd are about Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. Let us see them together. Anitya Veli, Inbichai, 52 and 53 are about the Jivan Mukti. Here, one more stepping down is given. So, from the from the entire world taken, then come to the Upadhi living. Then, suppose all the Upadhis you are not able to see, at least the good and the bad, the like and the dislike you live. Now, at least external objects you live, he comes. Anitya Veli Inbichai Atran Anma Tanil Pitriruti Tanai Uru Anisamum Tannoliyal Kudam Tannul Vilakkena Tannulle Tanulirvan. Here, the permission is given for the basic, the Brahmavid. How the Brahmavid feels, still he has not seen the fight is inside. Up to now, the fight was kept inside, that there was a perception that you could cross the whole world, you could cross all the Upadhis, you could cross good and bad, where? Inside. But let's say the Brahmavid still feels himself as part of the world. What he has to do? Anitya Veli Pogadu. Don't go outside and with the like and dislike get attached to the objects. Anma Tanil Inbutru Tanai Uru Anisamum Tannoliyal Kudattinul Dibam Pol. Inside the body, you shine self-luminously, he says. Inside the body, don't try to go outside the body, because those objects are never going to fulfill you, because the eyes, the ears, the nose, they can never reveal things as they are. They can only reduce them to some convenient name and form and bring information to you. Therefore, don't is, okay, let the pot be. You say that the pot is still there, doesn't matter, let it be. Keep yourself as the light within the pot. Udalulle tannunarndarku ellayara taanolirum nan. Know that the self-luminous self is only the soul. You still have feeling that there is something outside important. You have not internalized the problem. You have not seen that the work is all inside me. You still feel there is some work outside also. What you do, the idea is, don't go to the sensory non-self. See that the solutions are inside. Accept that. Accept whatever is happening in the sensory world as being done by one energy for the good of all. Don't have any conflict in that area. Without that, how can you turn inward? If you still have something is not all right in the sensory world, then turning inward completely will be not possible. So the Jivan Mukta's nature will be that even the Brahmavid, he may not have internalized that all the war is inside me only. He may still feel that there is an outside, but such a one also will not go and get himself attached to the objects. He will be shining as the light within a pot. Then come the two verses on Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, which are very easy to see. That Upadi Utranenum Ottavin Polo Upadigal Melellam Ottan Upadiilan Mutrarivanenum Muni Moodan Pol Vayu Pol Patratru Sancharipan. That means he may be any one of these, right from 48, 49, 50 verses. But then, though he appears to himself and to others as though he has upadhis, he is not attached. So, the Jivan Mukti comes because he is unattached to the upadhis. The Videha Mukti comes when the upadhis break. Videha Mukti is Upadi Nasattal Uruvan Munivan Upadhiyil Vishnuvin Nulle Apedame Toyatil Toyamu Tuya Vindil Vindum Tiyil Tiyum Pol. So these two together we can see that though with Upadhi, though the feeling he feels he still has the body and the mind and all that, how does the Jivan Mukta get his nature as Jivan Mukti? By the tool of non-attachment. Non-attachment is his wealth. Non-attachment is the wealth in all the lokas. any currency in one loka will not work in another loka. They will say, a Jewish teacher used to say, what you consider as dollars here will be considered as spoiled onions in heaven. Something like that. That he will say that wealth in one zone, even within the world, we can see unless the exchange system is there, one currency may be totally useless in another area. Like that, here the freedom from the lokas comes from detachment, and out of all the qualities, that if at all any quality can be of highest love, the other qualities you take that, we can have humility, all those things. This detachment is supposed to be a queen jewel in all the qualities. That if the consciousness, what happens? It now frees itself from the two arms that it was having, the arm of like and the arm of dislike. By detachment, it drops both the arms. I don't want any arms, I can stand alone. So, Upadi Utranenam, though the body is there, though the whatever food is available is all right. Whatever thoughts are come, let's say in the WhatsApp messages you get some information which you don't like, let's say. That does not perturb you because there is no attachment to those stuff. Whatever is kept, you understand the good health comes from detachment. So, Upadi Utranenam, though the Upadis seem to be there, the Jivan Muktan seems to have the physical body, seems to have the breath going in place, because he walks, does things, he tells stories with lot of emotion. Bhagavan used to say, narrate stories with lot of emotion, they say, that he would, as though you will be transported to that place. Utranenam, how he retains his self-attention, it is through the non-attachment, he says. That is the Jivan Mukta Sthiti. But how the Videha Mukta is got? Upadi Nasattal Oruvan. The moment the body is not able to sustain its togetherness, sugar comes, or diabetes comes, or cancer comes, or some other stroke comes, and the body, the atoms are not able to stay together. The consciousness is not bothered because already detached. The body, when it drops away, it's already detached. About the mind, there is self-detachment. There is no putting together of thoughts, putting together of some experience and saying, I am a dad, or I am a banker, This kind of putting together of thoughts is not there to the detached one. Therefore, even in the Jivan Mukti Sthiti, the detachment brings the Jivan Mukti nature, and when the body is gone, immediately, since the Karana Sharira is also not there, the Spurana, the Pindam may be an Adan, Brahmandam may be an Adanai. The difference between the spirit that pervades this body and the spirit that pervades the whole universe is dropped. That means when the bodies, the walls drop away, immediately, like water in water, space in pure space, and like fire in fire, the consciousness that was considering itself to be Pindam Mevyanadan, the Jiva, merges with the Brahmandam Mevyanadan, the Atma Shakti, this Purana, is the whole story. But then Bhagavan says there is no difference between this Jivan Mukta and Videha Mukta. If we understand verse number 47, that in 47, Nandru Tannai Ariyum Jnaniyam Yogiyum, ஒன்றும் எல்லாம் தன்னில் உருவதை ஒன்றான தான் எல்லாமாய் உள்ளதை தன் ஞானக்கண்ணினால் தான் காண்பன் என்றே தரி. There itself, the self is everything. Where is your body? Where is your individual identity? Where is the body of everybody? Where is the body of the Videha Mukti is also blessed on such a one that there is no difference between Jivan Mukti, that I am a Jiva without doership. Though I am inside the body, I am without doership, I am without this kind of bondage, the Jiva nature. One doesn't uh, differentiate that from and wait for the prarabdha of the body to be over. One understands this body does not exist. What is real existence? Real existence is only of the Atma Shakti. That alone, that is covered in verse number 47 itself. Only when we don't understand 47, we are given the support of the rest of the verses right through 53, where 52 and 53 deal with the Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. And Bhagavan's Atma's Vichara, gently practiced with Shraddha, with total faith in Bhagavan, will take us to that place where there is no difference between Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti also. So that is the practice we will have till 8 o'clock when we will listen to Akka. Ujjwalji, we can sit in Atma Vicharam till 8 o'clock. Thank you.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations, Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. With the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we are meditating on his translation of Adi Shankara's work, Anma bodham, into Tamil. And we have been given the great good fortune of going through his work in detail once, and with a cross section of the verses going through it as a revision now for a second time, wherein Nandakumar ji is giving us the gist of the different areas which are covered in each of the sessions. He is able to give us a gist of uh, the concepts and the experiences, the anubhava that is being shared by Bhagavan in these verses. So, in today's set, we are seeing the Jivan Mukta Lakshanam, and Nandakumarji always points out that, and it is true, it is said of any work by the great ones, that generally the first verse contains the essence of the whole work, and then afterwards other verses are either explanatory, or because we are not able to get the gist of that first verse or get the anubhava, get the experience that is being shared in that first verse, then other verses are added. So also here he says that here the first verse is talking about the Jivan Mukta Lakshana, where everything is only there's nothing apart from the self, as Bhagavan says in Arunachala Pancharatnam, that is Kabalita Ghana Vishwarupa Kiranavalya Arunachala Paramatman. Arunachala Paramatma is that which has swallowed the entire universe in its light. So there is only the light of Arunachala. There is nothing else. Everything is swallowed in that light. So what is there to speak about anything else? But then we come to stage by stage. It is said that, crossing the whole world, crossing upadhis, crossing good and bad, crossing outside wandering. But when we come to self-enquiry, actually all these merge into one. Again, as Nandakumar ji said, because when we look at taking the let us go to the last one first. Crossing outside wandering, not going outside. So, how does Bhagavan talk about this to Humphreys? He says, he tells Humphreys, don't pay attention to any of the things happening in the world. Say that strange things are happening. Think that strange things are happening in this world. It's strange, it's okay. There is none, when you think that strange things are happening in the world, you are not worried about the world and you are not going to be thinking about the world. He says, don't think about that. Don't pay attention to what is seen. Don't even pay attention to the process of seeing, but only to that which sees. Here, so Bhagavan takes our attention back to the self. And how does this happen in self-enquiry? In self-enquiry, Bhagavan makes us understand that all this which is outside, where is this which is outside actually? That which is outside is in the mind in the form of thoughts. If one doesn't have a thought about something which is outside, that thing is non-existent for us at that point of time. There may be billions of, there may be billions of universes also. We don't know, billions of galaxies, billions of universes. How much are we aware of all those things at this point of time, at any point of time? At one point of time, if our mind is free, say even if you take that our mind is a normal day to day human mind which is totally engaged in the world. Such a mind also, at one point of time, is only having one particular area of focus. That's what Bhagavan says. If I am a student sitting in a classroom, at that time, other things are the world war or anything, what is happening somewhere else, or civil conflict, nothing is real for me. Or the world of fish under the sea, or the world of birds in the air. How real is all that for us? How real is the world of any other living being to us? So, where is this outside world? The outside world is only inside us all the time, says Bhagavan, in the form of thoughts. So, when one gives up the outside world, which is existing within us in the form of thoughts, by seeing this division between I and my thoughts. So that's where Bhagavan starts. When we see the division between I and my thoughts, then one can question the thoughts and drop them. One does not have to hold on to any thought because that's not I. It's only a thought. It's just coming and going. It is outside of me. It is mine. It is my thought. And the entire world exists only there. But what can happen? What will help us to drop all these thoughts? What will help strengthen our being able to question this outside world? That is the dropping of the division between good and bad. So, as long as we hold on to the division between good and bad, then some thought comes, we think, this is a good thought. Should we drop the good thought also? This question comes. Should we not drop only bad thoughts? This question comes to many people. Good thoughts, should we drop them also? So, when this all thoughts can be dropped, the entire outside world which exists only in the form of thoughts can all be dropped only when the division between good and bad is eliminated. So, Nandakumar ji took the final example of death. That example of death. Death is what we consider the worst thing that can happen. So, is death bad? That question was raised, right? So, in fact, it happened even in that concept which he said, the person who dies may actually go to a better space. It happened actually when my father passed away, and my cousin, my first cousin, who is practically he grew up in with my parents, so he was coming from Chennai to Bangalore to condole my mother and the others. So later he said, I don't know anything about spirituality, but one thing I saw, the entire flight, my only concern was how will I console Slochana Amma, because Amma and my father have been so closely intertwined in their lives. They have not had, they have been like one being. And now my father is gone. I don't have, okay, he was old enough to go, or his journey is over. How will I console my mother? This was my main concern. But when I entered the house, she, like every day, she called me. She said, Krishna Kumar, come. Have you had anything to eat? And she was totally calm and composed. And I asked myself, how could this be possible? And the answer which came to me was that if my son is going to some university, say the most prestigious university in England or the States, to study, I wouldn't feel sad about sending him off. And my mother was absolutely certain that her husband had gone to Ramana. He was now one with Ramana. So she didn't have anything to mourn. She might have missed him, but she was happy because he had gone and he had united with Ramana. That I could see in her. So we do not know what is good and what is bad, whether death is good or death is bad, whether birth is good or birth is bad, whether something else is good or something else is bad. So when we cross over this good and bad, then what happens? That there is no need to hold on to any thought. Of course, this happens even when one has faith, completely faith. That is what Nandakumar ji said when he was talking about Kau Lakshmi. He said Kau Lakshmi didn't have any thoughts because she left all her children also in the care of Bhagavan. And he said about himself, he said, by Bhagwan's grace, when I started self-enquiry, I had my several issues which could take my attention. But Bhagwan allowed me to have faith in him and drop all those thoughts, or let him take care of everything. Let him take care of the whole world. So, in that way, we can cross the entire world, or when we understand that none of this is I, when we go through self inquiry and we have eagerness to know our own true nature, what happens at that point of time is, why should I be concerned with that which is not I? So, in that way, also, one drops all one's upadhis, because one says, why should I be concerned with this? This is not I. This is not I. And in that way, one can cross the entire world. And that is the state of the first verse of the Jivan Mukta Lakshana. And then we come to the last two verses where we are talking about Videha Mukti and Jivan Mukti. As he said, it is like there is no distinction at all when one is when everything has been engulfed in the self. But Sadhu Om Swami does say in his he says in his Dhyana Patu, Kadavulagi Nindudal Kayatri Visi Pohalam. He says once one is abiding in the self, one has become divine. கடவுளாகி நின்று உடல் கயிற்று வீசி போகலாம். One can just throw away cast away the body in Videha Mukti and just say that it never matters anymore, because it was not I at any point of time. And very sweetly again, Nandakumar ji, in one of her retreats in Madurai, he said, கடவுளாகி நின்று, I don't remember the exact phrase, நின்றுடல், instead of கயிற்று வீசி, he said something irundu or something like that.
கயிற்று வீசி இருக்கலாம்.
கயிற்று வீசி இருக்கலாம், not போகலாம். Correct, sir, correct. கயிற்று வீசி இருக்கலாம், because you don't have to go. It doesn't have to be Videha Mukti. கயிற்று வீசி இருக்கலாம். That is what is Jivan Mukti. That's why in the last verse of Ulladu Narpadu, Bhagavan says, people say Mukti is of three kinds: with the form, without form, with and without form. All this is not there for one who is abiding in the self. And Bhagavan also said in the last few days of his thing, he said for different people, he gave different examples. Sometimes he said, okay, a coolie wants to lay down his load. Why are you people insisting that I should carry it? But he has also said very sweetly, he has said that, you see, when you listen to a transistor radio, you hear a voice. Is there a person inside over there speaking at all? So when there is no person inside over here, what is the question? Where is the question of death? Where is the question of Videha? Where is the question of Deha? When there is no Deha, where is there Videha? So if there is no Deha, for one who has crossed the Deha, then where is Videha? There is no Videha. But all this, Bhagavan has said, is only from the onlooker's point of view. If you ask me for an explanation, I have to give you an explanation, says Bhagavan. So for your sake, I will say A, B, C, D. If you see me as a Deha, then I will talk about the Videha Mukti and the Jivan Mukti and other things. But actually, there is only Mukti. There is only Jnana, Bhagavan says. There is nothing apart from it. And that is the point to which Bhagavan is taking us through self-enquiry. And the wonderful power of self-enquiry is that one gets to that point, at least for a brief second or a brief moment, even while one is questioning. And then it becomes steady by the grace of Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana.
Namo Ramana. That Appa's narrative was wonderful. Exactly like that.
I also remembered our favorite story of what is that? Satsangathin Bayaninna, but I felt it would be long to narrate. Another time, in another context, maybe.